All right, so tariffs, let's talk about them. Uh, let's see. So, the idea behind the tariffs is to reclaim jobs that have been sent overseas. And this does a lot of good things. It strengthens the economy over the long run, it lowers unemployment, it helps stabilize, it helps make the economy more healthy. There's more people with the ability to purchase things, to do things that are useful within the territory. Um, such as being, I think people who work are generally more orderly and they provide a lot more value to society than if they're on benefits and whatnot. Um, or even if they're working and on benefits, it's better if they're working than not working because they're providing some sort of value. Um, Generally, the fertility rate will go up. People will form families if they are able to provide shelter and medicine and things like that, things that are essential to living. Typically, people have better morale if they see that they have a future. There will be less deaths of despair and things like that. So, yeah, having meaningful jobs or a purpose for the people is a good thing. A lot of that was exported to China. Now, China wants those jobs. They wouldn't tariff the U.S. to block trade incoming into their country and just forcing exports to give their people something to do. They wouldn't. China wouldn't create tariffs if it didn't benefit their country in some way. So, what's going on now is that America is wising up and they're saying, well, China and some of these other countries seem to benefit from placing tariffs on other countries to force a higher number of exports and domestic consumption of goods that they are making, which will in turn boost the economy of their territory. I use China as an example because it seems to be one of the big players in the trade game, but there are other players too. China is just a really big hot topic right now, but there are other countries that do this as well. There are other countries that will block various products from coming into their country, and they're able to produce that product locally and export that product. And that is a net gain for their economy. There is a reason why countries block trade from other countries, because they don't want to. When they import goods, that's a net loss for their economy. Their economy is boosted when they make the product, essentially taking raw material, utilizing labor, whether it be semi-skilled or skilled, and then creating wealth through that process. And the owners of these companies usually benefit the most, but the people working the jobs, they benefit as well, because usually when you take on a job, you are gaining some kind of value. You are being paid. So through that process, many people benefit, and then that money will circulate within that territory, and it gives the territory an economy. If you don't have people, if you don't have people within your country doing something useful, your country doesn't have an economy. That's just simply how it is. Tariffs, trade is a huge portion of the economy. Whether if it's with one country or globally, trade is a massive market that a lot of money flows through trade. When you're exporting, that's where the real money is. That's why so many countries want to block trade from other countries. They don't want to absorb the finished product of other countries, because it really benefits the people that are sending the product in more than it does the people that are just consuming it. When you're just consuming a product, you're losing all that value in the creation process. They typically want to reserve that for their own people, have their own people do the creation process where it creates value several times over. When you're just consuming something, you don't get a lot of value out of that. It's the whole skilled working process where you're taking raw materials and you're converting it into a product. That's where all the value is. So the idea to really get your economy going, you want to make things in your country. That's how you make your country strong. That's how you have a strong economy. That means that many people have money in their hands and they can purchase things. And they can do things of good value. They can start families. They can get themselves educated in higher skills so that they can do things that are more valuable. People can become doctors. People can become engineers. People can heal people with medical knowledge and build things with engineering intelligence. These things are very useful. And there is a step-by-step process to get there. People need a starting point. They need a starting job. And a lot of those starting jobs, believe it or not, are manufacturing. People start somewhere and then they become more specialized in other fields that are very useful. We need skilled, ethical doctors, good-hearted doctors that are actually going to help people. We need smart, ambitious, good engineers. We need young engineers, new engineers, to replace the ones that are retiring and dying off, because people in these high-end professions, they don't last forever. The young replace the old eventually. And how do you get there? Well, maybe the doctor has to earn some money first so that he can get some money, go to school, become a nurse, make money from nursing, become a doctor, or an EMT or whatever path that they're going by. Or maybe they just moonlight at night and take maybe one or two classes for a surgeon or something like that while they're doing their manufacturing job, because the money has to come from somewhere. There has to be a step-by-step process for these things. Maybe people weren't meant to work in factories, but that's all they could start out as. They didn't already have millions of dollars in the bank to pay for a doctorate in brain surgery. But we still need brain surgeons. We still need rocket scientists. We still need architects and bridge builders and all this other stuff. Construction, high-end construction engineers. We need all this stuff. And how do you get there? Well, you need to start. You can't do it from perpetual being on benefits and unemployment. That doesn't get anybody anywhere. People don't learn anything that way. The system is not set up to accommodate those people. And if our system is not set up to accommodate those people, we're basically uh, we're basically shooting ourselves in the foot. We're letting our best and brightest effectively rot out when they're very intelligent, they're highly skilled, they're very capable. They simply need a pathway. And a lot of the pathways in the past, back in the early 1900s, was making products, working in factories, producing goods, creating value. These jobs left, and a lot of our pathways to excellence also left. And we can clearly see it around us. The American project has been abandoned. A lot of people, when I view people that have no path to gain higher skills, that's abandonment. You've abandoned these people. And bringing jobs back, putting tariffs on other countries and saying, look, we're going to block